Hey everyone. I don't know if have you guys ever seen a picture of me? I don't even know. Anyways, this is the face to the voice to an email to a telegram to a text. Um, I'm in one of the conference rooms here at StoneX in Chicago, so I ducked in here to attempt to walk you through the trendline video that's well overdue. When I was watching the video, we set that back in 2015. That's this is long overdue. A few things have changed. The setup hasn't changed, but some of the optics have changed. So, of course, when I'm doing this, my phone is buzzing, but they'll just have to wait. All right. Um, so I'm going to take about 5 or 10 minutes just to go over how to draw trend lines on the DTPro trading platform. Okay. So let me pop into a demo, and I'm going to do it in the context of the trade setup, the CFRN trade setup. Okay. And I'm going to stay on a 7-tick range because I seem to get more opportunities when I look on the 7-tick range chart. So I'm going to stick with that. Okay. But nothing changes. It doesn't matter if you're on a 4-tick range or a 7-tick range or a 1597 tick chart or a 5 or a 30 or a 4 hour. The bottom line is you need 2 candles or 2 bars to connect the dots or a trend line. Okay. And you're either going to draw them off the bottom of a candle or the top of a candle and just draw them straight across, okay? And the idea, the reason why we draw trend lines and we get in the habit of drawing trend lines is because what we know is after the market does a bullish or bearish cross, the normal thing for the market to do is to do what? Is to gravitate toward the BBC. Old school version of it, that's the green line. New version of it, it would be the ribbon. Okay. Nothing's changed. It's the optics have changed to kind of keep it color coordinated to make it easier for you to make trading decisions. Remember when I was doing the videos on Thursdays, a big thing with me is easy and obvious. And that means when everything's the same color, it's game on, right? There's no more filtering. There's no more guessing. It's either going to do it or not. You eliminate all the guesswork. All right. So that's the attempt of this. I'm going to show you how to enable the trend line. Maybe if you don't have a trend line, how to get them on your chart. The properties of a trend line, because you can change the colors and the thickness and the lengths. Um, and then maybe, hopefully, we take some real live examples here. All right. So let me blow this up a little bit so we can so you can see a little bit more. I'm on a really small computer in a small room here. So, all right. First order of business. Do I have the trend line button on my chart? Where is it? If you're looking at a chart, you should have some images here, right? That's where the trend line should be. Which button is it? It's this guy here. When you put your mouse over this diagonal line, which is at a 45-degree angle, ironically, and it says line, that's your trend line. Okay. I'm also going to talk about the horizontal line. Dwayne likes to use this a lot. You should have this one on there too. All right. So when you put your mouse over it, it'll say line or it'll say horizontal line. Okay. And the way you activate it or enable it is you go over there and left click on it. Notice there's a blue box around it that lets you know that it's been activated. Notice the mouse or the arrow that I had on my chart has now become a pair of crosshairs. So when I start drawing, okay, it turns back to an arrow. Okay. So that's how you know you got it active. You go over here and you left click on it. Okay. All right. So that's where it should be. Now let's say you're looking over and you just can't find it. Maybe you don't have it on there. That's fine. We're going to put it on there right now. So on the left hand side, if you go toward the bottom, bottom left-hand corner of the chart, you'll have this, looks like a fast forward button. Left click over it, go to add or remove buttons, and you might have to hit this drop down box here. It should take you to standard, and this big box of choices come up, right? What you're going to want to check is line, and then you'll want to check horizontal line. And what that does, it'll pop this image here and this image right into the bar here, the sidebar. All right, so now you should be able to see those. Okay, so again, how did we get there? Hey, I don't see my trend line button. Go down to the very bottom, look for the fast forward button, left click, add or remove buttons, standard, look for the line, look for the horizontal line, and just left click, and that will put them on the chart. Okay, so that's how we get them on the chart if you don't have them. All right, the next thing, applying the trend line to a chart. Okay, so as I said before, what you want to do to activate the trend line is put your mouse directly over it and left click, and note now that your arrow is a pair of crosshairs, okay, or just a crosshair. All right, that's when you know you got it activated. What I want you to do, and I want you to get in the habit of doing, is anytime you have a bullish or bearish cross, your next thing, next order of business is to go over here and activate that trend line. And the reason we do that is because we don't know if it'll get back to the BBC. We don't know if it'll get back to the ribbon. So we need to get in the habit of drawing trend lines. Whether it hits it there or not, get in the habit of drawing them. Because if we don't get there, okay, like in this example, and we do get a close above the trend line, and we do have divergence in the oscillator, it's time to take action. Okay, it's time to take action. So sometimes the market has so much bullish or bearish momentum, it can't even get to the BBC and do the normal thing. All right, so it's important that you get in the habit of, as soon as you get the cross, or if the ribbons go red to blue or blue to red, boom, activate that trend line and get ready to draw. Okay, so we have a bullish cross here. Okay, when do I start drawing the trend line? At some point, the market is going to gravitate toward that BBC. It's going to start gravitating toward that ribbon. You're looking for a few consecutive down closes as it gravitates toward the BBC or the ribbon. This is a perfect example of it. It's a down close and another down close. Once you connect, you can connect a trend line off of two tops or two bottoms. Left click over the top of the channel or the bar or the candlestick. Hold the mouse down and drag. Drag it right across the top of the next candle. Okay, that's what it should look like. Right here, activate the trend line. This is starting to gravitate toward, it's starting to close and gravitate toward the ribbon. Get ready to draw a trend line. Okay, this one, activate the trend lines, is getting ready to start closing in the direction or toward the BBC or the ribbon. Get ready to draw. Okay, that's what you should get in the habit of doing. By the way, while we're here, if you just put your mouse over the trend lines, right click, you can hit remove. Right click, remove. Put your mouse directly over that, right click, remove. Okay, that's how you delete that. All right. All right. Let's go backwards again. We get the bullish cross. Burt told us to activate the trend line. Check. I do it. We get the down close and we start gravitating toward that ribbon. Burt says to draw the trend line. You left click and drag across the tops of the bars, okay? All right, stop right there. What if you have a trend line that's going off the page, like a ray, all right? If you put your mouse over the trend line, right click and select properties, the properties box will pop up, okay? The first thing you want to do is go to mode, change it from ray to infinite to finite. You want to change it to finite. If you want to change the color of it, you can do it here too. If you don't like the dash dot that I have, you can change that too. The width is like, the best way I can describe it is the sharpness of a pencil. One is the sharpest. You want to thicken it up, you can thicken it up. I like to see it tight. Okay. So I would have it on number 1. And then what you want to do is save as default and then hit close. All right. So most of you, if you haven't messed with the trend line, you're going to have, you probably have like a trend line that's running off the page. Just right click over it, hit properties, and change the mode from infinite to finite. All you have to do is left click over the word mode, hit the drop down box, and this will pop up. Okay. And then again, save as default, then hit close. Okay. So that's how you set the properties of the trend line. You can change the colors, you can change the sharpness, you can change, how long it is. All right. The same thing applies to the horizontal line. Okay. Left click, draw the trend line. It's a horizontal line. This looks nothing like Dwayne's, right? So what do you have to do? Put your mouse over it, right click, and select properties. Okay, notice the mode is set to ray. If you want yours to look like Dwayne's, I would go to infinite. Okay. Now look at it. It goes across the chart. But Dwayne has text on his, right? So what you can also do is you can also put text on it too. And I'll show you how to do that in a little bit. Okay. But if you wanted to get it across the horizontal line and get it across the screen, okay, that's what you'll want to do. Okay. All right. You don't have to do it like that either. All right. So that's a horizontal line. Those are the properties of it. Okay. All right. So let's try to draw some trend lines together, and maybe this will spark some questions and you can send them my way, and then maybe I'll make another updated video to answer some of the questions. Okay. So again, we talked about trend lines and the context of the CFRN trade setup, right? And what we're training ourselves to do is once we get a bullish or bearish cross is to activate the trend line. And the reason we do that, because we never know if it'll get back to the BBC. All right. And here's a really good example of it right here. As we start approaching that BBC, we draw a trend line. Notice how I drew it off the bottom of that bar, off the bottom of that bar, and that is the close below the trend line. Okay. Okay. If I want to delete the trend line, put your mouse directly over it, right click, and hit remove. Okay. What if I use candlesticks? How does this work? The same principle applies. If you get a bearish cross and the market starts gravitating toward the BBC, chances are the colors of the candles will be a different color, right? So if we're heading down and candles are red, 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 you should start getting some blue candles. Okay. Either way, as soon as you get the cross, activate the trend line. With a candlestick chart, it's a little goofy, right? If you have a wick, start at the bottom of the wick. If you just have a body, then go to the corner of the body. Go to the corner of the body, all right, and draw the trend line, okay? Again, how do we do that? Activate the trend line, find your starting point, bottom of the wick, left click, hold the mouse down and drag across the bottom, okay? Release it, all right? You should have a finite line that looks like mine, okay? That's what you want to do, all right? Let's see if this thing pulls back a little bit. That would be kind of cool. Let's go to a 30-minute chart. Okay. Not surprising, right? Could do the same thing here. As we gravitate toward the BBC, we never know if it's going to get there. And what we did is we draw a trend line starting at the top of the wick. Yeah. Draw it across the body, and there's an up close. All right. So it doesn't matter whether it's a 7-tick range or a time-based chart. You need two points, right? Whether it's a bar chart or a candlestick chart, find the top of that candle or find the bottom of that candle, and that's your starting point. Okay. Draw and extend. All right. Draw and extend. Let's go to crude oil. Let's go to a 7-tick range so we can get a little crazy here. 7-tick range. Okay. Let me create some more real estate for us. All right. So again, we get this bullish cross here. Starts gravitating toward the ribbon, right? Take two tops, draw the trend line, left click, drag, and release. Okay. It didn't close above. To delete it, put your mouse over it and delete. Okay. The cycle's inside, the green line's inside the cycle, so chances are we'll get a little bit of a pullback here, and maybe we can draw a trend line. Okay. Again, how do you activate the trend line? Left click. All right. Here's a good example of one. As we got the cross here, I took the bottom of that wick or bottom of that bar chart, drew it at the bottom of that bar, and connected the dots. Okay. So let's see if this qualifies here. Okay. While that's happening, see if I can't cruise over to the gold, find something there. Gold's in a position too. If the gold can pull back to the BBC or the ribbon, we might be able to draw a couple trend lines here. Okay. So again, nothing's changed here. You just need two tops or two bottoms to connect the dot. Okay. I might be watching paint dry, so let's go over here. All right, so here's another example. Here's something interesting. As we start pulling back to the BBC, okay, some things changed on the chart, right? Sometimes you have to adjust the trend line. Let me see if I can't blow this up for us, okay? Activate the trend line, start drawing off the bottoms, right? Okay. Here's another example where it took 3 candles or 3 bars to connect before we got any kind of down close. Okay. Here's an example where we had 2 bars before we had the down close. All right. So your starting point has to be 2 candles is my point. Sometimes it might go 1, 2, 3, maybe even 4. You don't know. But the bottom line is you might have to adjust the trend line. How do you adjust it? Well, what we see is this to start off with. Maybe you have to take the end point here and drag it, move it back and forth, all right, to connect another candle or connect another candle, okay? So that's it, okay? So the takeaway is, number one, get in the habit of activating the trend line, okay? Especially after the bullish or bearish cross, all right? It takes two candles to connect the dots, whether it's a candlestick chart or a bar chart. You need a starting point, all right? In this example, it would be the bottom of the bar, or it would be the bottom of the candle. If it's a candle, start at the wick. If there's no wick, start at the corner of the body. Start at the corner of the body, okay? How do I change it from my candlestick to the bar chart? If you go up to styles, open, high, low, close, if you just do this, or you just do that, that'll change it, okay? I'm using this so I can see the closes. It's more defined. I can use the bottom of the bars as more as a kind of like a laser, okay? So, so get in the habit of drawing the trend lines, okay? We talked about how to activate or how to get them on your chart if you don't have them, okay? And that's it. It doesn't matter if you're on a 7-tick range or a 30-minute chart or a 4-hour chart. It doesn't matter. As we start gravitating toward that BBC, okay, we just don't know if it's going to get there. Okay, we don't. All right, just start drawing trend lines. And then if we get closes above or below it, then it's game on. If the oscillator, the slingshot portion of this is in the same direction. All right, so that's it. Hopefully this is a good start. If this didn't answer all the questions, let me know and I'll produce another one. And then we'll kind of fine tune this so we have something in the library that you guys can lean on as a resource. Okay, so that's it. All right. How do I stop this?